right in front of you. The mouse. The mouse is right in front of you.
Right.
No, no, not that one.
Okay, what am I doing?
Start stream. No, that's not that one.
Anywhere on the screen?
No, no.
Okay, am I good to go?
You are.
Okay. Hello and welcome to the Dr. Elisa Show here on KUHS Denver Radio, The Stream. I am so excited to be here with you. This is the highlight of my week, I have to tell you. I miss you. I have no idea if you miss me, but I absolutely miss you. Before I get started, let me do a couple quick shout outs. One, just to you for listening. You're just such amazing listeners. We are so happy to have you. And KUHS Radio, you just need to know we're here for you. That this station is all about our listeners. That's why we do these shows. Couple shout outs. I have some amazing sponsors. VeteransPride.org. It's an amazing nonprofit. If you have a veteran you would like to honor, then please, VeteransPride.org. Connect with them. It's a nonprofit. You'll have an amazing experience. And in this time when we're just all a little nervous about our health, think about connecting with my other sponsor, Nancy Harnum, at 5 Elements Acupuncture. Some of you may say, yeah, I don't like the needles, but I have to tell you that the needles are pretty quick. She's very experienced, and this is an incredible way to build your immune system and to deal with body, mind, spirit, and all the ways that you build health. So, shout out to both of them. I am making sure that I can also see any comments you have over here on Facebook. So I'm pulling off my computer. I think I have the technology figured out today. Okay, so you know my show, right? I am Dr. Elisa. You can work with me. Do you know that? You can connect with me one-on-one. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me here at KUHS Radio. You can find me at my website, elisarobin.com. And you know you want to, right? You know you'd love to have a one-to-one session with me. So think about connecting with me. This show, though, is about inspiring a renaissance of spirit within you. And that's what I do in my private sessions with people. But now what I want to do is inspire you a little bit extra this week because, oh my gosh, are the planets kind of messing with us. We are going to talk astrology, the 4 planets that are in retrograde, oh yeah, and something I like to call the law of seduction. I know you've heard of the law of attraction. I take it just a little bit further. I do want to also let you know that you still can find my book on Amazon.com. The book is called The Way of the Well. It is a spiritual romance, kind of in the tradition of the Celestine prophecies. So if you liked that book, you're going to love my book. And that's from people who've told me that, not just me saying that. You can find it on Amazon, and it is available for Kindle. And it's a really fun read, so give it a try. And right now, oh my gosh, we have time, right? We have time to read. So everyone take a deep breath and get present today with me just for a little while. Inhale, just find your body really present. And as you exhale, send a little bit of love into the world. We will all feel it. We will all know that it's there. And I have successfully pulled up my Facebook site. So if you would like to comment at all, I know many of you are just listening and not on the Facebook site, but if you are, give me some comments, some thumbs up, some hearts. Just, if you have a question about what we're talking about, would love to hear from you. Okay, so today, what is going on in the sky? As you know, I have that PhD in Psych. I have 2 master's degrees, more academic degrees than most people need, obviously. But I have a second master's degree in Jewish spiritual studies, so think Jewish mysticism. And I'm a trained astrologer. Oh, and I've hung out with Reiki masters and shamans and medicine women. I've had an interesting spiritual journey. I bring all of those together when I'm on the show with you, when you're listening to me, and absolutely when I'm working with you. So today what I want to focus on, because I just think we need some clarity, are what's happening in the sky. 4 planets are retrograde. So let's take all that apart and explain it and figure out what it means. Retrograde, first thing, right? Planets do not actually go backwards in the sky. That actually would not work in the law of physics. However, there are times, because our orbits around the sun are different shapes and different speeds, that it appears to us that a planet is going backwards in relationship to us. You know, think about that if you're sitting at a stoplight in your car and somebody started slowly moving backward, you would have the feeling of shooting forward. Similar experience. So, we have 4 planets, and we're going to talk about each one of those while I also manage my looking at Facebook. I'm going to multitask. The 4 planets, here we go. Pluto has been retrograde for a while. Venus went retrograde yesterday. Saturn is retrograde, and Jupiter is retrograde. Retrograde means they appear to be going backwards in relationship to us. I've talked to you about Saturn and Pluto being next to each other all last year, and now that they're not right up next against each other, how that changed things. However, now Saturn is also moving backwards. It's going to get closer, and Jupiter is moving backwards. So let's take them apart. Let's do them one by one, okay? I actually want to start with Venus. Venus goes retrograde on a fairly regular basis. It just does. You have to remember that. And in fact, planets all go retrograde at some point. It just depends how it affects us. Venus. So if you remember any mythology, right, you know, Venus is the goddess of love. I have to say that in this world, we have kind of demoted her to something kind of cute and squishy, right? She hangs out with Cupid. Cupid has little arrows. Love is kind of entertaining. But this is a goddess. This is a powerful feminine energy. It's the counterpoint in some ways to Mars. Mars, the god of war, who we think is very powerful. And yet, we don't seem to understand the power of Venus. Venus rules not only love, Venus also rules art. Venus also rules money. And if you paid any attention to the stock market, the day that Venus went retrograde, the stock market went down. There are astrologers who specialize in financial astrology. I am not an expert in that, though I have to tell you, I am studying it right now and learning as much as I can. And when Venus goes retrograde, there is always a change in direction in the stock market. The saying is, no love, no money. Right? So when Venus goes retrograde and we feel love pulling away, which is sometimes what a retrograde will do, the stock market feels that. It's really fascinating. What else do we know about Venus? Desire, pleasure. Don't underestimate her. And I think she would also agree with me that the law of attraction should be called the law of seduction. But we'll get to that later. Hopefully I'm just going to keep you interested. I'm also going to see if I can update my website, my computer here, because I think you have to keep updating Facebook to see if you're actually getting messages. Okay, so hopefully I'm going to be able to see that here. So what does Venus mean? What do all these things mean? Okay, and here's where there we go. here's where the trick comes in. Venus is retrograde in Gemini. I'm going to take that apart. I'm going to unpack that for you. But what you're going to do is, and again, when you listen to the show, you can run your chart. You can just Google any of the places that you can run a free chart and look at where Gemini is in your chart. Of course, you could also call me and have a session with me, and I could tell you. It's much more fun that way, I have to say. But you can do this yourself. So look at your chart and find Gemini. And whatever house Gemini is in, that is where this Venus is really going to affect you. Venus and Gemini. Okay, Venus is about sensuality, right? It's about being very, very present. It's retrograde in Gemini. Gemini is the mind. Geminis are so fun, always. If you're a Gemini out there, you gotta know we love you. Because you're fun and you're entertaining and you're always on to another thing. And we also know your mind goes on and on and on and on. And that sometimes you might personally feel like you're kind of a hamster in a wheel, right? Because a Gemini mind never stops. So what happens when Venus is in Gemini is we start replaying old scripts. We start thinking about things. And when Venus goes retrograde, retrograde pushes us inward into rethinking, re-experiencing, re-evaluating. Discerning is another word for this. So what might happen? You might get a call from an old flame. So don't be surprised if your ex reconnects with you, but take it with a grain of salt. The person may not have changed. Then again, maybe both of you want to revisit it. But remember, it's in Gemini, right? So our minds might go too fast for us. So take the time. Take the time to think clearly about it. You may realize you're done with a relationship. And in the retrograde, you revisit that, you become aware of it, and when Venus goes direct, which will be in a few weeks, and we'll talk about it when it goes direct, then you might find that you're ready to leave a relationship. I have to say that you might start a relationship too, though most people would say, no, not under a retrograde. But what can happen under a Venus retrograde, especially in Gemini, is that we shift away from the illusion of who we are in love or who we want to be. I don't know if anyone's ever said this to you, but when you stop looking for who you think you want, you meet the person that you really need to be with, who really matches you, who's really the person you can fall deeply in love with. But first we have to get through the illusions. And Venus retrograde in Gemini gives us a chance to evaluate all of those illusions and change them, move forward. So this is a great time for reflection. And of course, when you're in any kind of isolation or social distancing or whatever situation you are in, wherever you are, that has to do with a lot more alone time, it's a good time for reflection. Well, Venus now says, what do you love? And how do you love it? And also, what drives you crazy? So if your roommate is you suddenly realize that your roommate never washes the dishes, you're also suddenly going to realize it drives you crazy. So there's going to be a lot of awareness of what we individually care about and why we care about it. It's also a time that we set our hearts free to maybe find the love that we have been afraid of. Because remember, Venus, when it's about love, also can connect with our old heartbreaks. And those heartbreaks are often what keeps us from embracing the love that truly would fill those cracks in our heart with gold. Okay, so what are you going to do? You're going to contemplate, you're going to reflect, and you're going to pull your chart, and you're going to look at Gemini, and the house that it's in tells you where you're playing this out in your life. And then you're going to call me, right? And we're going to have a $75. I'm still doing half price sessions, just so you know. usually $150, and I'm offering sessions for $75. So just so you know, I'm affordable and can help you get through this time. Okay, that's one planet, Saturn. Now we've talked a lot about Saturn in here. We've talked about how Saturn, in your chart, sometimes Saturn represents your father, represents the person who set the rules, which could have been your mother. But often, in traditional astrology, it's considered your father. In modern astrology, who in the family taught you how life works? What are the rules, the policies, the procedures, the belief systems, not philosophically, but in terms of making the planet work, making life work, what's important. Saturn affects us every 30 years. Roughly, we have a Saturn return, and we examine all of those ideas and those notions, see if we still like them or not. When Saturn in the sky goes retrograde, it gives us a time to look at the restrictions that we've put upon ourselves or the restrictions we live in, and to re-examine them. And what you saw when Saturn went retrograde was people suddenly saying, I can't stand the restrictions, loudly saying, of the pandemic. I can't stand it. Okay, that's the first response to a retrograde. It goes retrograde and we have an immediate emotional sort of panic attack. I can't stand it. Okay. But what Saturn asks us to do is look at our true restrictions. And those are our internal restrictions, our belief restrictions. And those may surprise you during a Saturn retrograde. Why? Because we are going to look at what we learned about authority and responsibility, personal responsibility too. What did we really learn in this time? Meaning our life, our lifetime. So it had moved into Aquarius. It goes retrograde in Aquarius, and then it'll go back into Capricorn. And it will go there, and then I think it's actually going back into that, and then it goes all summer. So it's retrograde for a very long time. And what that means for us is we have a long time, a good amount of time to commit to a deeper level of what we really care about rather than just observe it. So do you see how this fits with Venus? Venus is retrograde, pushing us inward to saying, what do you love? Saturn is retrograde, saying, what do I value? What are my values in the world? What do I stand for? What do I believe in? How do I want my life to run? During a retrograde, we're always told, sort of the old philosophy, don't start anything new. Well, it's going to be kind of hard because retrogrades come and go all the time. What we have to be aware of in a retrograde is we're being challenged, we're being asked to look inward and see where we have caught ourselves in our belief systems and where we can grow. I think that what we're going to be challenging ourselves about is, what do we want relationships to look like? And if you think about the time we're in, we're starting to realize more and more how important relationships are. That's the whole problem with social distancing. I honestly think it isn't that we're craving going out to a restaurant. What we're craving is being with our families, being with our friends, being able to go out, being able to connect with others. That's what we're craving. And so Saturn comes in retrograde and says, okay, well, if that's true, if that's what I'm craving, when I can walk out of my house again, what is the first thing I really want to do? Who do I want to be with? How do I want to restructure my relationships? Where have I been holding back? Because it's about boundaries. Where have I been holding back that I want to open up? And where have I been opening up that I now want to hold back? Those are deep questions. Deep, deep questions. And this is the opportunity to examine them. And what we have right now is time. Lots of time. So this is sort of this amazing time to look at how our old expectations do not fit the current reality. I was talking to a very dear friend of mine the other day, and she's in her 80s, and she said, I can't stand this. I can't stand Zoom. I can't stand phone. I need, this isn't how life is supposed to work. And she's very intelligent, and she paused and said, but of course it is how life is working now. So I guess I have to change my expectations. Yeah, we do. And then moving forward, how do we change our expectations to match new realities? Because we will come out of this with new realities. And I have to say that every one of my clients has said to me, I don't want to go back to exactly the way life was. I don't want this. But I'm suddenly realizing how I was too busy to think, too busy to process, too busy to bond. I was so busy, I replaced sort of feeling with busyness. And so if you're having a minor existential crisis right now, which I have to tell you, my life is run by sort of an ebb and flow of existential experiences. If you're wondering about your meaning of life, good, because now you have time to think about it and not just block it out based on busyness. That's the gift. Okay, one more retrograde. One more. And if you're just tuning in, if you just you're halfway through my show, thank you for tuning in. This is the Dr. Elisa Show on KUHS Radio, Denver, the stream. You know how to find us, right? Well, if you're listening, of course you know how to find us. But I do encourage you to just check out the Facebook site if you can, because it's where you can post some questions or some comments, or just give me some thumbs up, because you know you love the show, right? You just know. And we're talking about the planets in retrograde, and then we're going to talk about the law of seduction. So you've got to stay tuned. Okay, so we talked about Venus, we talked about Saturn, and now we're going to look at Jupiter. Jupiter, I have to say, Jupiter. What do we want to say about Jupiter? Jupiter is a gigantic planet. And Jupiter is understood to be the planet of expansion, how things grow. Which sounds great, right? We all want to grow. But it's tricky, because our choices determine what grows and how it grows. So imagine for a moment that an astrologer says to you, oh my gosh, this year Jupiter is sitting right on your sun, and that is going to give you chances for great expansion. And you walk out for the year, and you come back a year later, and you say to your astrologer, you were right. This was a year of expansion. I gained 30 pounds. Right? That is also expansion. It may not have been what you had in mind, but it depends where you focus. We always have choice. Astrology tells us the energy. It does not tell us the future. It tells us the opportunities and the challenge. And then it's up to us how we face those. So, Jupiter is also in Capricorn. And we've been talking about this. Capricorn is the the sign of lovely ambition. Lovely, lovely ambition. It's also the sign of rules. Follow the rules. It's a good sign for engineering. It's a great example. I've had so many Capricorns who say to me, like, I don't follow the rules. And then they're an engineer. I'm like, well, of course you follow the rules. You can't design or build anything with following some rules, structural rules. So, in almost every Capricorn I know loves to work with their hands in one way or another. So if you're a Capricorn out there, let me know if that's true for you. So we've had these major planets in Capricorn, and you've been seeing what's been happening around the world are the challenges of the old rules and the new ways that are coming, moving from Capricorn into Aquarius. So what happens with Jupiter? Jupiter governs philosophy, spiritual introspection, reflection. Oh my gosh, isn't that interesting? That's what we're doing right now. We're doing spiritual introspection. You were forced into it at some point. I think you heard on the last show about meditation, that another form of dealing with the sort of being inside. How do I do spiritual introspection in a way that helps me grow, helps me deal with, helps me find meaning and grow? And that's what Jupiter is about. It deals with spiritual growth, personal growth, psychological growth. It can absolutely deal with financial growth, happiness, success. And so, yeah, it affected the market too when it went retrograde. And I will talk to you more if you're interested. You just have to let me know. If you're interested about astrology and money, I am taking workshops on it. And so if it's something that also interests you and you'd like to know more about it, and you'd like it on the show, then hey, contact me and let me know. In the Facebook site, you can message me through the station. There's tons of ways to do this, right? Tons of ways to get in contact with me. Okay, so how do we deal with this? Jupiter retrograde means that whatever area you need growth in is now going to be affected. So how do you know where that is in your chart? Yep, you got it. Pull your chart, see where Capricorn is in your chart, which house it's in. And that house then is where you're really going to feel the Jupiter. Now, whatever else you have in Capricorn, or opposite Capricorn, or at a right angle to Capricorn, wherever Jupiter has an aspect to a planet in your chart, meaning it's next to it, it's across to it, it's at right angle to it, wherever, that's where you're going to have the sense of what is happening with Jupiter, okay? So Jupiter does this, it expands us, and our choice is in what way. So this is a great time to take stock, to make sure that things are in order. And again, Jupiter goes retrograde on a regular basis, so it's not new. What's different is that these planets are retrograde in these signs at this time. So it's a lot of retrogrades happening together. Sometimes what we find during a retrograde is what is actually where we need to grow, where we need to let go of personal restrictions. A little bit like Saturn, right? Where are the destructive behaviors that also we might think of as expansive? So addiction is something, it's not ruled by Jupiter, but you can see that we could expand our addictions. We could expand our fear of loss. We could expand our fear of scarcity. We could choose that instead of expanding. Venus is retrograde. We got a great opportunity here, people. We could expand the depth of our love. Saturn is retrograde, another great opportunity. We could expand our understanding of limits and boundaries and where they work and where they don't. We can choose boundaries and limits that are good and supportive, and we can release those limits that restrict us spiritually in the world. So imagine for a second that this is who is you invite into your life and who you say you want out of your life. Fear-mongering, out of your life. Love, in your life. Scarcity mentality, outside your life. Appreciation of the abundance you have, an acknowledgement that yes, you will get through this, right? Moving that needle from fear to joy, from fear to prosperity, from fear to manifesting what you need. That is the other gift that Jupiter offers when we focus on where we need to grow. I mean, this is pretty big stuff, right? I mean, think about those 3 planets. And now let's add the last one, Pluto. Okay? And if you would like to post in that Facebook site, I'd love to see you. I'm still in there looking. Okay. Pluto. What do we got going with Pluto? Pluto's been retrograde for a while. We've talked about it. Many people talk about Pluto as the scary death planet. I have to tell you that based on my chart, and if you're an astrologer out there, I will let you know that Pluto's on my midheaven, and I have a Scorpio rising with Saturn sitting in Scorpio, sitting on my rising. I have a very, even though I'm an Aquarius, I have a very Plutonian chart. And I have made friends with Pluto. It seemed to be the only option because Pluto and I were going to hang out together a lot. And what I came to realize is that Pluto is not the frightening planet of death and destruction. Pluto is the planet, and it's a very feminine energy to me, a deep, deep feminine, even though in mythology Pluto was the god of the underworld. Pluto to me is the woman shaman, the mystic in the middle of the forest that you go to see when you are craving a life change, the beginning of a quest. And you say to her, I want a quest, I want to grow. And she says, okay, then here you go. Here's your opportunity. And it starts. And in my mind, it's always night, and perhaps there's thunder and lightning. And what she offers me is exactly what I need and exactly what I'm afraid of. And it's too late to say no, because I asked for it. I asked for something that would shake me, something my soul needed to change. And there it is. There it is. And how does Pluto work for us? And this is why I love this progression, and I use this with clients a lot. Pluto works with us by first saying, what is in symmetry? What is in alignment with the life you crave? Step one. Step two, and this is Pluto's power, whatever does not work for you, whatever no longer is valuable for you, whatever no longer has meaning, and what continually pulls you off your path, we will now subtract from your life. We will now find a way for that to go away, so you realize that that was not serving you. My most intense Pluto transit, let me just say this, lasted 7 years, which is when we became buddies. Not at the beginning, I will tell you, but definitely by the end. And that was those years where I went down to zero financially. And where every time I tried to get a spiritual reading, the only one who could read for me was the astrologer. I tried a shaman, no. I tried people who channel spirit guides, no. I mean, everything I tried. And yes, I worked with psychologists at the same time. I was actually in graduate school, majoring in psychology. I was always told that I couldn't go to find the answers outside of me. I had to find the answers inside me. I had to look deep. And once I did that and took responsibility and let go of things that no longer mattered, boom, life opened back up. That is what Pluto sets up for us, that we let go and we move forward and we embrace what has been waiting for us. That last step is seduction. We go into symmetry, we go from symmetry to subtraction to seduction, because we are now seduced into the life we want, because we've cleared away everything else. Ask an artist about that. And if you're an artist out there listening to me, let me know if you agree. One of the ways you make a piece of art seductive is you subtract. And where there's empty space, people move in. Talk to somebody who designs spaces, a fashion designer or a interior designer, somebody who understands that sort of elegance, because that's where this work comes from. It's actually from Matthew May, a favorite author of mine, and he actually knows that I'm using his stuff. So I know he's not listening, but you might want to read his book, In Search of Elegance. It's lovely, and it talks about this process for different reasons, but it talks about this process. So Pluto retrograde has been offering us for quite a while, and will continue to do so for a while, the power to harness our deep personal reflection, face our deepest issues, and actually transform into something new. Pluto is the caterpillar going into that chrysalis, into that cocoon, and becoming a liquid. And this truly is what happens. The caterpillar dissolves, and what is left are these tiny, tiny pre-butterfly wings. or pre-moth wings, that they were born with. And the rest of the caterpillar dissolves into kind of a stew and then reforms around those wings. That's what Pluto gives us a chance to do. May not be comfortable. I mean, look around you. It doesn't feel comfortable, right? But that's what we're being offered right now. That is what we're being offered. So what can you do in this time? You can follow those steps. And this is another way that I work with my clients. We don't just do astrology. We work with what does your soul crave? And we'll talk about that more in another show, but I know I've touched on that, and I think we had a whole show on it, on the nodes of the moon. Now is a great time to look at that north node, because what happens with our charts is we choose our time of birth based on this belief system, and we choose a chart that provides everything we need, every opportunity for us to then live out and embrace and become what our north node wants us to be. Our north node is what our soul craves. It's our meaning and purpose. It's why we came here. It's why we're on the planet and what the planet needs us to do. A little bit of Kabbalah mixed in with a little bit of astrology there, okay? So that, if you look at that in your chart, your north node, you can see how the rest of this energy in the stars, in the planets, is pushing you forward towards that. It's actually seducing you. And that's my theory. So what I want to talk about in our last bit of time here, I can't believe how fast this hour goes. Can you? And in case you're tuning into the end of my show, just so you know, this is KUHS, Denver, The Stream. And I'm Dr. Elisa. And you're going to have to go back and listen to the beginning because it was amazing stuff about astrology. But now, if you're tuning in just in time for me to talk about the law of seduction. So I have to say that for most of us, we have heard about the law of, and I'm just rebooting the Facebook site here so I can see if I have any comments. I don't see any. Okay. Most of us have heard about the law of attraction, right? So I want to tell you my experience with the law of attraction. And yeah, I get it's true. But everybody makes it so complicated. There was a book out at one point, you can't have one bad thought, you'll attract it. Okay, well that's scary. I'm clearly going to attract a lot of bad things in my life. But I've struggled with writing the appropriate affirmation or shifting my mind in the way for the law of attraction, right? And maybe this has happened to you. You say something like, okay, here's my affirmation. I bring in more than enough money to pay my bills. And somebody says to you, no, you're focusing on your bills. Focus on money. Okay, good. Let me try again. How about if I say, I'm a money magnet. I attract money every day. And then they say, no, that's too vague. That's too vague. Be more specific. Okay? How about I swim in abundance. I'm surrounded by money and wealth. And then somebody says to you, well, that doesn't sound very spiritual. Because money? Like, okay. Abundance, not money. I have to tell you, then I just cut to the chase with the person, and I said, I just love making money. And the person looked at me appalled. I'm like, that's about love and money. Those are the two things I want to attract. Doesn't that make sense? And she said, how can you say you love making money? I'm like, well, you love chocolate. And, you know, I love wine, and I need money to buy chocolate and wine. And I love donating to charity, and I need money to donate. And so what's wrong with loving making money, especially in a way that helps other people? What's wrong with that? So you can see I got kind of sideways with the law of attraction, even though, yes, it does work. And what I realized was I was being too mental with it. And of course, I'm a double Aquarius. Of course I was being mental with it. I was in my head trying to attract through saying things, through affirmations. Now, that may work for lots of you, so I'm not putting it down. But I am saying to you that there might be a deeper level of attraction, the law of seduction. And I wrote a blog on this recently, and if you want to check out my writings, just go to my website, elisarobin.com. Robin is spelled with a Y. Or if you do a Google search on, actually if you just find me on Facebook, it'll go to my website. Or if you find me on LinkedIn or Pinterest or Twitter or Instagram, Elisa Robin, Robin with a Y, you can get to my website. You can read my blog posts. And I wrote an entire blog on the power of seduction. And I don't mean sexual. So all you guys, that's not what I'm talking about, okay? Because clearly, right, we know that at least a third of the population, maybe half, went right there. I think the word seduction has a negative reputation because it's such a powerful form of manifestation, and one that we attribute more to women. And so it's this deeply feminine power of manifesting, of drawing life to you. We say the word attraction, law of attraction, and nobody gets upset. It sounds kind of academic. It sounds magnetic. It doesn't sound sensual. It doesn't sound deep. Whereas seduction has a very different tone. Seduction requires that we align our life with our soul's craving, and we discard everything else, which doesn't that sound like Pluto? Pluto can be seductive. It doesn't have to frighten us. And seduction doesn't have to frighten us. So we create emptiness, and emptiness is seduction. If you're ever in a class, or if you've ever taught, you know that when you ask a question of a class, you just have to give yourself 10 to 15 seconds, which is an eternity in a classroom, and somebody will talk, because people will fill the emptiness. We know that emptiness, it's kind of a sacredness. Every time you think about a sacred place, that sacred place, be it the Holy of Holies in the old synagogue, in the temple, or in a mosque, the space within a mosque, or the space within a church, or the space in a kiva, or at Mesa Verde, anytime you think about a sacred place, that place has emptiness, because we have to go into it. We are seduced into it. Emptiness can be holy, and seduction can follow that. There's sort of a way that emptiness calls us to the life we desire. And yes, it can be dangerous, right? Seduction can call us to our deepest, most secret dreams. We can be seduced to that. But it can be dangerous because we can rush to fill it. Venus retrograde. We could rush to fill this. Our ex calls, oh my gosh, I've been dreaming about you, as opposed to what do I really want? Don't rush to fill the emptiness. Let yourself feel the emptiness and feel how that seduces to you what you want. That's how you use these retrogrades. And that's the law of seduction. You let the emptiness be there. You get clear with your craving, your soul's craving. You get everything else out of the way. You create the space, and you invite into it that which you truly desire and that which truly serves your soul. That is a deeper level of manifesting attraction, of the law of attraction. It takes a bit of courage, right? Because we have to blend our physical and spiritual worlds. We have to live in that place of seduction and know that people will respond. I have to tell you that in my life, I have been told I'm too passionate. I'm dangerous. Am I the only woman out there that men say, I'm afraid of you on a regular basis? And I'd love to know that. So women, or maybe men have heard it from women, I don't know. But if you've heard that, oh, you're scary, you're scary. That's not a pickup line. I just want to point that out. I don't find that seductive. But I've been told I'm mysterious. I like that. I have also been told I'm a bit ruthless in love. I'm absolutely ruthless when it comes to defending my friends and my ideals, absolutely. And yes, I've been told I'm too seductive, too passionate and too seductive. And I guess that's what scares some people. But I'll tell you what it does. It lets me have a spiritual message that is seductive and less academic. It lets me manifest life through desire, through what I crave. And it's what the planets right now are offering you. They're saying embrace that part of you. Now, your words may not be, because now I love these words, right? Dangerous and passionate and seductive and mysterious. I love those words. Those may not be your words. Yours might be kind and generous and, whatever that is. Embrace those, because that is what is happening. And from that place, seduce to you the life you want. Because that is what your soul is asking you to do. And that is exactly what these planets are doing right now, is creating that space for you. So, the planets are aligning to help you. I know it doesn't feel that way. Trust me, I know. But they are. And if you want guidance with that, you know where to find me, right? So we are coming to the end of the hour, if you can believe that. And I hope you have found some inspiration, that you have found, you know what, I hope you're questioning. Because when I teach, I always tell people, leave my classroom with more questions than answers, and I've done my job. You have been listening to the Dr. Elisa Show on KUHS The Stream. And I want to tell you that we had such great response from my crystal ball reading show that we will be now offering that once a month. It will be on next Monday, which I believe is the 18th, at 3 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And the only way that show works is if people go into the Facebook site and post questions. Questions can be pretty vague, and yes, I will have the crystal balls, and I will be doing live readings. So you absolutely want to tune into that show. It'll give you a flavor of what I do, though I won't be doing live astrology readings unless you can ask me a specific question. Like, you know, your North Node is in Capricorn, and what does that mean, okay? So that's next week. And then I will be back in 2 weeks, and I am going to have a guest with me that week who is one of my favorite astrologers, and I have several. She's amazing. Her name is Jamie Dawn, and we'll be talking more astrology. So we're having basically a mystical month on my shows, and I hope you just adore that and love listening to the show because of that. I do, again, want to let you know that you can contact me. Right now I'm offering sessions at $75, which is half price. And I'm doing that because I want you to feel like you can afford to reach out to me. I offer them on Zoom, and then I can record it so you can go back and listen to it. We will do some astrology. I definitely can do a little bit of channeling. I will definitely help you with the psychological aspect. And one of my strengths is truly helping people with their relationship with money, with prosperity, and also just intimate relationships. Those are sort of my specialties from my psychology side, right? My studies in economics, I've studied a lot of things. Let me just cut to the chase, right? And I definitely could, there are testimonials on my website too if you want to have a sense of how effective it is. So if you love the show and you love me, you can have a taste of me one-on-one. All right, so again, find me on Facebook, my website, elisarobin.com, LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest, and or Instagram. I am everywhere. I would love to work with you. Most importantly, I love the fact that you listen to KUHS Radio Denver, The Stream, and that you understand that we are here to help you through whatever you're going through right now with this pandemic, to help you smile, to help you have faith that there is a tomorrow, and to help you move forward in your life. So hang in there, keep listening, and I will talk with you soon. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you for tuning in.